This week on ANN, ADRA continues its work to bring relief in India thanks to a generous donation.
3 young boys in Vanuatu are found after being lost at sea for 3 days.
And later, we have some new features on ANN In Depth.
These stories and more coming up.
Thank you so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, the Adventist Development and Relief Agency, better known as ADRA, is expanding its response to the current COVID-19 outbreak in India, thanks to the generous support of Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds, a Missouri-based business that donated more than $430,000 to help with ADRA's emergency operations in India.
For weeks, the South Asian nation has been struggling with an unprecedented second outbreak that has overwhelmed hospitals and health facilities, killing more than 279,000 people and causing daily cases to surpass 4,000.
Reading the headlines coming out of India with increasing concern, Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds founder Jerry Jettel felt compelled to respond to the crisis by donating all of the proceeds of a recent 4-day sale to help ADRA supply life-saving oxygen generation systems and essential medical equipment to Adventist hospitals caring for critical COVID-19 patients in India.
Jettel said, "There's a lot of people out there in desperate situations, and I want to encourage other companies to do what they can because there are so many creative ways not only to give, but to build awareness of what's going on in India. If we all pool our resources and skills, we can reach so many people. Charitable giving is the foundation of our business. I think all the work and the projects ADRA does are amazing. ADRA is one of the organizations that we try to raise money for whenever we can."
Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds donates a significant portion of its annual profits to provide food, emergency aid, sustainable development, and education to people in the U.S. and abroad.
Jared Jettel started the company as a teenager out of his bedroom in 1998 with $100 and a makeshift catalog selling seeds to a few family members. Today, his business is one of North America's largest heirloom seed companies, selling to more than 166 countries around the world.
For more information about Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds, visit rareseeds.com.
To learn more about ADRA's responses or make donations to assist with relief efforts in India and other countries, visit adra.org.
Adventists in the South Pacific are praising God after 3 boys were found and rescued after being lost at sea for more than 50 hours. The Adventist boys went missing in the waters off Mota Lava Island in Vanuatu on Friday, May 14. The boys are 11, 14, and 16. The search party began on Friday evening with multiple boats as well as the Wings of Hope plane piloted by Mark Turnbull. The search continued throughout Sabbath and into Sunday afternoon when searchers in Turnbull's plane finally found the boys in the middle of the ocean. The boys are Pathfinders from Mota Lava Island in Torba province and had reportedly gone fishing. People across the Pacific Islands were praying for the lost boys throughout the weekend. According to a Facebook post by Turnbull, the boys were found drifting east into a place where copra ships never go, domestic aircrafts never fly, and small boats never pass. In another Facebook post, Turnbull described how they dropped water bottles, coconuts, bananas, a waterproof torch, grapefruit, and even a note to say that a boat is coming before the boats were able to get to their location and rescue them.
The pandemic has made the demanding job of care providers even more challenging. But even before COVID-19, mental well-being has been a top priority for AdventHealth as chaplains and clinical mission integration specialists extend resources to combat stress and burnout. Videographer Rafael Lopez from AdventHealth reports.
Father God, I ask that you just join us here today. Join us in this place as Dr. Scanlon cares for patients.
Pray about everything.
Okay.
Thirdly is be thankful in the midst of everything. and you need to just be more supportive. And
Day in and day out, caregivers like nurse practitioner Kate Leon have one job: to focus on their patients, their long hours, on-call shifts, and emotionally draining moments. And often, that means missed moments at home.
I have a daughter who's almost 5, and so just her brings you joy. Just you can't be stressed out and sad when you're around a young child, because they're just beautiful.
Even before COVID-19, physician burnout was high on everyone's radar, and physician shortages were a big concern. The pandemic made it even more challenging, and the impact continues to evolve.
I'm seeing so much depression and anxiety now in the last few months that we just didn't anticipate that now. I think I anticipated it earlier, and so that we're having a lot of hard conversations with folks.
The stress that a provider goes through, are you able to still have dinner with your family?
AdventHealth chaplains are there to offer support.
Let them know they're not alone. Number 2, support them through it and help them realize that, hey, you're not struggling by yourself. We're going to walk with you together in this situation.
It is great to see you. God bless you. Thank you for coming by each week.
To help love and keep our physicians safe, we also provide support to physician practices through clinical mission integration. Notes like these inspire our teams to keep going.
This one says, "To those who knock, the door will be open. God never closes the door on me."
This is him tapping you on the shoulder and just reminding you that he loves you, he's with you, his hands are on your hands as you're ministering to the patients.
That's a good way to think of it.
Sometimes you just need to kind of be a sounding board, and a person may just need to talk.
Whenever they're feeling burnt out, I say, why did you get into healthcare? What brought you here? And it's like this light bulb goes off and they're like, that's right, that's why. This is uncomfortable and this is not fun and it kind of is scary, but this is why I got into what I do.
And when they need more, there's Dr. Layla Durr, a psychologist dedicated to physician well-being, available directly to our physicians. She encourages them to recognize the signs of distress and to hit the reset button.
And make sure that you release and recharge in whatever way fits best for you.
And then finally, have that attitude of contentment and thanksgiving.
I'm going to keep this right handy.
Amen.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
For all you do.
Thanks for coming by all the time that you do.
God bless you.
You too.
Rafael Lopez, AdventHealth, West Florida Division.
Communicating hope by digital means just got easier.
The website sharinghope.com has been revamped and now offers an updated page with Adventist missionary books, children's literature, and books by Ellen White in 13 languages, among them English, Spanish, French, Portuguese, Italian, Chinese, and Arabic.
The World Publications leader for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Almer Moroni, tells us more.
SharingHope.com website is an initiative of the General Conference Publishing Department. It was created and launched in 2015 at the General Conference session held in San Antonio, Texas. The objective of SharingHope.com is to enable the free distribution of books and missionary pamphlets in digital format. So far, you have available in this website more than 13 languages, and we are adding more. Recently, SharingHope.com was rebuilt and totally renovated and relaunched as a mobile-friendly website. Sharing Hope is like a library that you have in your pocket, like your telephone. You can share literature with people from all over the world, without borders, without barriers. That is, you can share hope with many people from different cultures and different countries. So take advantage of this opportunity. Grab your smartphone, go to sharinghope.com and starting sharing hope with the whole world.
Coming up, In and In-Depth is back on May 24 with a new episode on addiction and COVID-19. But that's not all. We'll share more after the break.
We'll be right back.
We may look, pray, read, think, worship, sing, and share differently, but we all look forward to the Sabbath. And we all look forward to the future when Jesus will come again. With this message in mind, we arrived at a core component for a new identity system, the creation grid, a simple 7-column structure for layout. The grid is a reference both to the prophetic timeline as well as to the creation week that culminated in the 7th-day Sabbath. The first 6 columns of the grid belong to the designer. It can be filled with anything: text, images, illustrations, patterns, and logos. But the 7th column, the Sabbath column, does not belong to them. It is meant to be different and special. Regardless of what or where you are designing, you can always find information to help you communicate that we are all Seventh-day Adventists.
Welcome back.
On May the 24th, ANN In Depth is back with new episodes, starting with a conversation with Katja Reinhardt on addiction and COVID-19.
We will also be talking to Katja and other healthcare experts about addiction during a Facebook Live on Tuesday, May 25 at 12 p.m. BST.
In the few weeks off, we have taken the time to convert ANN In Depth into a podcast. You can listen and subscribe on Spotify. Just go to spotify.com and search for ANN In Depth.
Today, we're going to give a little clip of a recent episode of ANN In Depth on forgiveness with Jennifer Steinmetz and Sam Neves from the Adventist Church's Communication Department and Morgan Kokenhauer, an Adventist pastor.
Can you talk to us a little bit about what are some of the maybe myths about what forgiveness is? And then we can get into what it really is. Like, what does it really mean to find reconciliation with each other and to move forward with forgiveness?
You're asking me first or Sam?
Yes, I'm asking you first.
To speak to the myths, I think the myth of forgiveness is, especially as kids, I think we kind of have this get over it mentality where, Johnny took my ball and we have this, what's the big deal, get over it, or it's time to share, or we try to approach it in a way in which we don't think it's as big a deal, but then we are instilling principles where forgiveness is a get over it. But to be honest, forgiveness, I think one of the myths is we don't get over it. And as much as we think we have forgiven, or maybe we have done what it takes to be forgiven, I don't think we realize all. And I would say this, and Jen, I've said this to you before. Jesus has shown us what it takes to forgive. And it was the cross. And so I think for each one of us, what it takes to forgive is truly dying to self, taking up our cross and following Jesus, and really, praying for the power, praying for the Holy Spirit, for his heart, to know his grace, his love, what the implications are for me to forgive somebody, but also what are the implications for me to go seek forgiveness, to really desire reconciliation. Because I think, and I guess the other myth is that somehow I can forgive and not be around that person anymore, or forgive and forget. Forgiveness it doesn't make us forget anything. I mean, the nail scars on Jesus' hands are there to show us we'll never forget. Forgiveness doesn't make anybody innocent or make it as if nothing ever happened. No, it happened. But there's a way in which forgiveness helps us get through that pain or that hurt. And then I guess the other thing is that when we forgive, forgiveness is actually taking away anything that would hinder us from being in fellowship together. Ultimately, when Jesus Christ forgives, he is willing to, he has a forgiving heart already, but then whatever the offense is, he's willing to forgive that so that nothing stands in the way of us being reconciled, of us abiding, communing, having fellowship, which First John speaks to. And so then when we forgive, we're essentially saying, okay, I have forgiven you. Now there is nothing standing in the way of us having fellowship and communion together. And we don't always approach forgiveness that way. We approach it as if, I'm forgiving you, but I don't trust you. Or I'm forgiving you, but I'm not over it, or I'm forgiving you, but we don't have to be around each other. I mean, no, I think that for me, those are some of the initial thoughts as I think of myths, but also of what forgiveness is. In 2 Corinthians 5, where Paul, just the first four chapters, and in that 5th chapter is culminating towards this ministry of reconciliation. And after Paul just lays it down that this is what we've been given, he turns to a therefore in chapter 6, and working together with him, we also urge you not to receive the grace of God in vain. Because of this work of reconciliation that Jesus Christ has done and worked for us, don't let it be in vain in your own lives. And Paul says in Timothy, having a form of godliness but denying his power. We have denied God's power to heal our relationship. That's it. Like, that is the greatest power God has. We won't let him come in and heal. And sometimes if our spouse has done something and they come and ask forgiveness, then we are the hard-hearted one saying, no, I can't get over it. So then divorce is inevitable because you can't get over it and thumbing this on them, and you will not re-engage. Even when you're the victim, now you've turned into the aggressor because you won't forgive. And now you're lording it over them. And so Paul goes on to say in verse 11, chapter 6, verse 11, Paul has been just ripped in the church of Corinth, just libelous, lied about, attacked. I mean, he has taken it in the teeth, up one side, down the other. And Paul comes back and says, I'll forgive them all. I forgive, even though, and he doesn't call out the guy by name, but he references him and saying, please receive him back into fellowship, because I want to have relationship with this guy. Even though he was the chief antagonist, I desire relationship. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. And so then he comes down here and says, our mouth has spoken freely to you. O Corinthians, our heart is opened wide. You are not restrained by us, but you are restrained by your own affections. So because you are affectionate towards anger, because you're affectionate towards whatever the sin is, that's what's restraining you. Even that, and that's what restrained Adam and Eve in the garden. Your affection for the fruit, your affection for self has restrained you from entering into relationship with us. Now, in like exchange, I speak as to a child, open wide also to us. So they're not opening up to Paul into an extended fellowship. And even in, I can't remember where it is. It's in here here it is, in 2 Corinthians 3. Not that it says, such confidence we have through Christ towards God. Not that we are adequate in ourselves to consider anything as coming from ourselves. But our adequacy is from God, who also made us adequate as servants of a new covenant, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter kills, but the Spirit gives life. Forgiveness isn't of us. We cannot forgive. We have to draw on Jesus, and that's why whether you are trying to forgive somebody or you're needing to seek forgiveness, it's never in us to desire that. We're okay when things divide us, and we're okay. And I would even say you may not hate somebody, but you may be ambivalent. You could care less, or you couldn't care less. I don't desire a relationship with them. I mean, that's probably the worst, because then there's no emotional response.
Right.
Don't forget, you can find this and other episodes on the Adventist Church's YouTube channel, and now on Spotify.com.
Coming up, Michael Yonker is here for This Week in Adventist History.
But up next, Adventist Mission shares a story of a young woman who shared Jesus in Trinidad and Tobago.
Hi, VL. How are you? Are you okay? Dear VL, I can't even remember how long we've been staying at home now because of this virus. For now, it's just nice to hear your voice and see your face. Nothing beats playing outside in the dirt, though. Which reminds me, are your hands clean? Yes! Mommy and Daddy says not a lot of kids get COVID-19, but it's always nice to be extra safe. We should wash our hands before picking our nose. Washing our hands protects us, but it also keeps us from spreading the virus in case we touch something dirty. Let's always be clean and safe, okay? Love, Joey.
Welcome back.
Every day, Magdalena stood outside a pharmacy in Trinidad and Tobago, waiting for her dad to pick her up after school.
While she was waiting, she decided to pass out tracts and share Jesus with others.
Adventist Mission has more.
Every afternoon in St. Martin, a town in Trinidad and Tobago, Magdalena would stand outside a pharmacy, waiting for her dad to pick her up after school. Sometimes she had to wait more than an hour. She watched all the people coming and going from the pharmacy, and she wondered if those people loved Jesus. One afternoon, Magdalena had a question for her dad as she hopped into the car. "So many people come by the pharmacy," she said. "Can I share some mission tracts with them?" He was happy to hear that his daughter wanted to share Jesus with other people. "Yes, that's fine," he said. Her dad found some tracts about the love of Jesus, and Magdalena put them in her backpack when she went to school the next day. After school, she offered the tracts to people outside the pharmacy. "Hello, how are you?" she said. "Can I share with you this tract about the love of Jesus?" Everyone accepted the tract. Nobody could refuse one from her. When her dad came to pick her up, she happily announced that she had given away all the tracts. Magdalena took more tracts the next day and the next. When they ran low on tracts, her dad made copies on the printer at home. After a while, Magdalena noticed that a dentist passed by the pharmacy every afternoon on his way to the office. Every afternoon, she gave him a tract, and every time he took one. Magdalena told her dad about the dentist. "Daddy, can I talk to him about Jesus?" she asked. Her dad knew the dentist. "Sure, no problem," he said. The next day, Magdalena was waiting for the dentist when he walked by. "Do you have Jesus in your life?" she asked. The dentist was surprised by the question. He hadn't read the tracts the girl had given him. "I've heard about Jesus, but I don't believe in him," the dentist said. Magdalena was sad to hear that. "Do you have time to hear a Bible story?" she said. The man once again couldn't refuse the offer and invited her to come to his office the next day. Her dad gave permission for Magdalena to go to the dentist's office. That night, Magdalena asked her dad for some Bible verses about Jesus to share. She also had one more request. "The dentist doesn't have a Bible," she said. "Can I give him one?" Her dad found a brand new Bible. The dentist said, "Thank you," when Magdalena gave him the Bible the next afternoon. For the next month, Magdalena went to the dentist's office every day after school. She and the dentist read the Bible together and talked about the stories. Slowly, the dentist began to believe in Jesus. So Magdalena invited her new friend to go to church with her the next Sabbath. "Yes, I have time," he said. "I can go." Magdalena excitedly broke the news to her dad when he picked her up. "I invited the dentist to go to church with me, and he said yes," she said. On Sabbath, Magdalena and her mom and dad picked up the dentist on their way to church. "Your daughter is wonderful," the dentist told her parents. "Before, I didn't know anything about Jesus, but now I know him." Magdalena became a real missionary when she shared tracts with the dentist and told him about Jesus. She wants to live the rest of her life sharing Jesus with others.
Watch this and other mission stories online by visiting AdventistMission.org, then click on videos at the top.
And finally, for today's episode, let's turn to Michael Yunker for a look at Adventist history.
This week, we hear about the start of the Argentina food factory.
This week in Adventist History, we wish to gaze back in time to the origins of the Argentina Food Factory, or Alimentos Granex, near Buenos Aires, Argentina. It was in late May and early June 1938, with the South American Division's authorization, that the plans were completed for the construction of a factory and for the purchase of equipment for the Argentina Food Factory, or also known as Alimentos Granex or Granex. This represented the first serious business to promote the vegetarian food industry of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in the territory of the South American Division. Its objective was and remains to promote health through the food industry, starting with the manufacture and commercialization of foods that correspond to the biblical ideal of integrated health. Although the idea had been around since at least 1936, it took some time for their plans to bake, becoming ready in May 1938. The first building was completed in July, the following months there in 1938, with the entrance that had two 30-square-meter rooms and a space for the factory that had 225 square meters of well-illuminated and ventilated space. The factory soon began to operate, and the production of wheat flakes, rice, corn, biscuits, peanut butter, and honey fractionation. Before the year was out, electricity and water access were added, and a house was rented for the factory staff. In August, the transfer of the name Granex to the new factory in the town of Florida, Buenos Aires, was completed. George E. Norris, an expert from the food factory in England, was hired as the first director of the food factory in Buenos Aires. The official name of the company was registered as Alimentos Granex Sociedad Anónima Comercial y Industrial, or Granex Commercial and Industrial Stock Company. The first board of directors of this institution was formed with Walter E. Murray as president. It remains active today, and in April 2020, the Argentina Food Factory, perceiving the need to help others in need and those most affected by the pandemic caused by COVID-19, donated more than 55,000 tons of food merchandise. For more, check out the encyclopedia.adventist.org website and learn more about the Granex company. That's this week in Adventist History.
Thanks for watching ANN. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Did you know that the Adventist Church has a YouTube channel where you can watch ANN video, ANN in-depth, and plenty of other amazing videos on prophecy, health, and Bible study?
That's right. Just go to YouTube and search for the Adventist Church. Click the subscribe button to make sure that you're caught up each week.
And remember to leave a comment or a prayer request. We have people who are praying for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Before we say goodbye, here's some good news, and it comes from the book Song of Solomon, chapter 8, verse 7.
The passage says, "A huge torrent cannot extinguish love. Rivers cannot sweep it away. If a man were to give all his wealth for love, it would be utterly scorned."
That's powerful. That's also our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit Adventist.news for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.